All right, thanks very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to have the podium here today. Here are my disclosures. So my other disclosure is also that as I was getting ready for this talk, I began to become very nervous because I know William Hope extremely well. I've known him for a long time, and I consider him to be a formidable opponent in this debate. William is a very busy hernia and general surgeon in Wilmington, North Carolina. As you heard, he's a very gifted public speaker, and he just told us for 10 minutes why the robot is not going to be around in the future. William is also the immediate past president of the America's Hernia Society. And so I started to think, how am I possibly going to win this audience over from William? And so I did something kind of unorthodox. I called William and decided to go over my talk with him, hoping that maybe he would give me some tips or tricks. And then a really funny thing happened. I gave my talk, and William loved it so much that he decided that he's going to agree with me. And from now on, he's going to start giving talks on why robotics is going to be around forever. And now I'm starting to feel just a little bit more confident in my argument. So thank you for that, William. And based on your excellent discussion that you just gave about why the robot is not going to be around anymore and the technical aspects, I've decided not to use the word hernia one time in my entire discussion about why the robot is going to be around for the future. So without further ado, here we go. The robot is going to be around because one of the things that we are seeing is a growth and adoption of robotic repair of defects of the abdominal wall since the year really 2011, 2012. And with this growing group of surgeons that are adding this to their practice, regardless of any data that's out there, regardless of our personal feelings, regardless of cost, what we're seeing is a rise in adoption. So the robot is going to stay around because we're continuing to adopt it. And that's something that's going to go on, as we've seen. But what we sometimes forget is that robotics isn't new. Robotics has been around for a long time. In fact, this technology began to be developed by the Department of Defense in the 70s and the 80s for use for injured soldiers in the field. Since that time, the robot was approved for use in hospitals for surgery in the year 2000. And since that time, we've seen it adopted in the fields of cardiothoracic, urology, GYN, ENT, and finally, general surgery, which is essentially the latest to the game. But just because we're the most recent to arrive on the playing field, it doesn't mean that robotics hasn't been around for a long time. It's been around for 17 years. So how do I know that robotics is here to stay? It's because it's here and it has stayed. What about public perception about the robot? Here's a study from 2016 published in Surgical Endoscopy by Dr. DeMeester's group. And they did a worldwide survey looking at perceptions surrounding robotics. Out of 750 respondents or so, about 53% of them were workers in the healthcare industry, 13% of them were physicians, and an impressive 72% of respondents thought that robotic surgery was safer, faster, less painful, or offered better results than other modalities of approaching operations. Admittedly, about 25% of the respondents thought that robotic surgery was open surgery, scarless surgery, or surgery with a laser. So they may not have fully understood what they were talking about. Nevertheless, their perception surrounding robotics is good. Robotics is here to stay because the public thinks it's a good thing. Now's the time in this talk where I get to walk back something that I said last year on this same stage. When I was here last year, I was debating Alfie, and I was giving the opposite side of the debate. And I very snarkily pointed out to Alfie during that talk, no data, no debata. And Alfie responded to me in the best way I think anybody could respond, and that would be by publishing some data. That's the last time I'm going to argue with you, Alfie. And I say that a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but many of our speakers today have shown us the burgeoning body of literature that's emerging surrounding robotics. Is it a slam dunk? Absolutely not. But is it promising? I think so. And I think as the data continues to grow, what we're going to see is that there are going to be at least some modest benefits to robotics, if not major benefits to robotics. So we're starting to get data, and that's why robotics is going to be here to stay. But it's not just about that. Everybody's watching. It's not just the surgeons, but there are other stakeholders in this game. And as we speak, the market is starting to grow. And there are competitive platforms being developed every single day as we sit here. And it's not going to be that long before they're available to us. And then we're going to see what free enterprise does to the field of robotic surgery. It's going to be around to stay. But what if we take a look back for a second? What if we step back away from surgery altogether and we look at our lives and we look at the way that the world is going? The world is going towards automation. And it's not just in the field of healthcare, it's all over the place. We're looking to automation, not just in the world of driving vehicles with driverless cars. The day's not that far away that your packages from Amazon are going to be delivered to your door by a drone. In terms of military applications, there are going to be robots exploring territory that's considered to be too dangerous for humans. That last one didn't play. Looks like it's not going to. And there are going to be robots carrying our weapons into battle for us. But it's not just that. There's also going to be a robot flipping your hamburger in the near future. In fact, it already exists in San Francisco. And if that weren't enough for you, there's a robot that's going to make your hamburger look exactly the way that you want it to look. This is what the future looks like. Does anybody want any ketchup or mustard on that? So what about with robotics and surgery? We're not even there yet. The next thing that's coming is going to be at least some semi-autonomous robotic procedures being performed. This robot, as you can see, is performing an anastomosis on a pig intestine, albeit with some human assistance. So the world of artificial intelligence is about to merge with ours. It's pretty cool stuff. It makes you kind of wonder, though, are these robots going to take over our jobs? Are they going to take our surgery jobs away from us? And I think the thing that's important to keep in mind with that is this. Our value isn't in our technical skill set. That's an amazing gift that we bring to the table every single day, but our value as surgeons is in our ability to be adaptable, to be agile in the operating room, to be able to creatively solve problems when operative fields look different every single day. So no, I don't think the robots are coming to take our jobs away. I don't think that that's going to happen. That said, robots are here to stay. Robotics is our future. And now that I've said that, I want to say one more thing. With all due respect to those that this is applicable to, I hope that when we talk about robotics in the future, that we're not talking about anything related to what we're talking about right now. I hope the future looks completely different. I hope it looks different in terms of smaller machines with a less bulky footprint that takes up less room in the operating room. I hope we're talking about less expensive technology, and I'm not just talking about the capital, I'm talking about the money that we spend for the drapes or the replaceable instruments or whatever it is that we're using. I hope that those costs get driven down as the market expands. Cordless instrumentation. What if we could measure something intracorporeally rather than sticking a ruler in the abdomen, as we saw many of our presenters show us today? Streamlined instrument exchange, haptic feedback, better optical access, and smaller ports. Many of these things are already on their way, and I can't wait for the day that they show up, that we get to see these things happen. Because the reality of it is that robotics is here to stay, and this really isn't the end of this at all. In fact, it's not even the beginning of the end. I would say this is probably the end of the beginning. Thank you.